Hey Sagittarius, what's going on? We're here with your reading for mid-June. Welcome. Okay, first card out is Nine of Swords, Five of Wands, something is being worked out. You can feel like there is a knot or there is a problem, like there is something that it's not working or it's not running smoothly or there's some type of issue. I'm seeing there be a focus on addressing this, but starting with the Nine of Swords can be like mentally having a hard time like preparing yourself to go into this, to go into addressing this. I'm seeing Three of Wands on the bottom of the deck, so this can be something like about the future. It can be something future related here. So it can be maybe not like a now problem, but it's something that needs to be addressed because it's focused on what would be happening eventually. All right. Having Knight of Wands and having Hermit is about taking the time to assess what's motivating you and if you really want to be like moving that way. So Knight of Wands is this vibe where you can feel really focused on things, but it's usually like one particular thing that you see in front of you and like everything else disappears. Having Hermit is like, before I do that, before I do move in that direction that this part of me feels called in, I'm going to spend time thinking about that. I'm going to spend time reflecting on that. So maybe to hopefully bring about more of a sense of balance in this. So it feels like checking that part of yourself that could maybe, if it's unchecked, you could look at it and be like, I didn't really think that through. This feels like it's adding that element of I'm actually paying attention to what I'm doing and what's going on and why I would be doing those things or that thing. This could also be about somebody else's behavior as well, too. It can be yours and it can be another person's. Okay. Having Nine of Swords and having Hanged Man. So Nine of Swords is going to be, you're in a space where mentally something can feel overwhelming. It can be bringing up like scary thoughts. It can be something where you're feeling nauseous about it, anxious about it. You can be trying to get to sleep at night. You can't stop thinking about it, like that type of thing. So it's just like all of these things that can feel like intense mentally that you'd be experiencing. Having Hanged Man here is about shifting the narrative. Hanged Man is going to be about reframing this. So there can be something that you're connecting with and you could be having like an awful time connecting with this and thinking about this thing. Spending time with the Hanged Man is going to allow you to see things differently, whereas before maybe something was like the most terrifying thing that you felt was coming towards you. Spending time with the Hanged Man can be like, I'm not really seeing it like that anymore. Like maybe instead of this being something that's bad coming towards you, this can be something, looking at it in a way where you feel like this is actually potentially going to benefit me. You know, it can be like that type of thing where there's just a shift in the way that you're framing it. Because I'm seeing something where it's like it has to be dealt with, but there can be lots of reasons mentally why you would be like I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to deal with it, but it feels like it really needs problem solving here. And before you just go and do something without really thinking about it, it's spending time thinking about like what's the best actual way for me to do this. And you also, this is about spending time thinking about yourself here and like what you're good at, like what would be your strengths coming into this situation and how do you lean more on those things, you know, like rather than doing something in a very, the way that I'm getting this is like if you go through this in a way where you're not mindful, you could do it in a very chaotic type of way and it doesn't have to be like that. This can be something where there's more of an awareness of what you're doing and you're also leaning on your natural skill set when it comes to doing this. So it's like having something that's feeling tough mentally knowing that something needs to be worked out here, but can be like, I'm having a hard time getting out of my head and actually doing something about this thing that I know I need to address here. Knight of Wands can be that part of you that's like, I just want to do something really quick and make this go away, you know, or make this less intense, whatever. Having Hermit is like putting a stop to that. Like, let's hold on and actually pay attention to what's happening here. And then Eight of Wands and Queen of Wands is that you're actually going to go so much further if you look at this situation and be like, what strength do I specifically have in this situation where I can show up and finesse this? Because, you know, it's not just like some random person going through this, it's you going through this. So what skills do you have? Like, what way do you feel like you can show up best within this, where you can maybe feel a little bit more trusting of yourself, or a bit more confident with yourself and how you move through something like this? Because we start with Nine of Swords, which is feeling like stuff is so mentally intense that I almost feel like I can't do anything except worry right now. And then we end over here with Queen of Wands, which is being like, I'm capable, I got this, like, I'll get it figured out. Like that type of thing. So Nine of Swords and Hanged Man is going to be the reframing of things. Okay, this is not an easy thing to solve. This looks complicated, is what I'm seeing. Five of Wands connected with Nine of Wands. Five of Wands is going to be a challenge. It's like, what's the puzzle here? What needs to be figured out? What needs to be resolved? Because things are sort of clashing into one another. So how do we get it all to go in the same direction? How do we get this to be congruent? Having Nine of Wands feels like it adds an element of this being even more difficult, because you can feel like you're expending a lot of energy here to try to figure something out. But I'm wondering too, with Five of Wands, like, are you trying to do something that's against the flow of a situation here too? And that can be part of why this is so difficult. Because if you could take a step back and be like, let me just forget my agenda here and let me look at this more objectively. Am I making this harder for myself than it has to be? Because that can also be something that that you may realize too. I think the mental health aspect of this is a big one, and also the part of you that spends time paying attention to what you're doing here as well. You're going to be breaking loose is what I'm seeing. You could feel like shifting the narrative is one of the most difficult things to do in this situation, but it's really what is going to allow you to prosper through it. Seems like this is about what you're getting into here. What you're saying, what you're creating, what you're making, what you're focusing on. All right. So at first, there's fear about stuff. That's an exhausting process in and of itself. Then over here, I'm seeing Knight of Wands and I'm seeing the Magician, which is you like really going for something that you want to do, where you're like, this is the way that I'm going to go. This is what I want to be doing here. And you can feel like this is a highly motivated energy that you tap into. You can feel a little bit reckless at times. It really depends on the way that you channel it though, because this is something that you can make rapid progress with because of how motivated it is, but you also want to keep it in check so you're not doing anything that you're not aware of. That's also a big part of this too. So it's like mindfully making progress, because things are going to move very quickly is what I'm seeing. Okay. This is a big chapter that's closing out. Okay, you've been working on this. I'm hearing the word edges. Eight of Pentacles is going over top of Nine of Wands. And how I'm seeing that is you could be at like very close to finishing something, but you could feel like it's draining you at a crazy, crazy rate. That feels more of just like an observation than anything more we need to say about that. I'm seeing something that you're doing, that you're showing up for, that you're almost, the process is almost completed. At the same time, you could be like a little bit weary of how draining it is. So that's just something that feels like it's coming to light here. Not that like more needs to be said about it. It's just like, yes, that is happening. Maybe just like an awareness of that taking place. I think that, like, if I could just simplify this, which it's not simplified, like, all of these pieces are important, but if you could get to, like, the main aspect of this message, it's that you're going from potentially feeling like something is happening in a way that it's not supposed to. This can be bringing up, like, fears and stuff for you, but mostly from a place of being like, I don't know if I can do this, like, I don't know if I can come out of this, I don't know if I'm capable. And then what I'm seeing is that we shift over, like by the time we get to the end of this, you're like, wow, look at what I did. It's gonna be one of those moments where it's like you think you're gonna fail the test and then you end up passing and everything is fine. That's what I'm seeing. But there's like the mental health side of this, the having to like problem solve here and being like, this is something complicated. Like, what if I don't figure it out? What's gonna happen then? Like, staying up at night, like, you know, not getting sleep because you're so concerned over this. But it's just like a lot of the air energy that's circulating. And then being like, what do I do? I see in the middle here you finding your motivation. It seems like just needing to tap into that part of you that's gonna like, I feel like fearlessly is the wrong word, but it's like you can still feel scared of something but push through anyway. You know, you can still feel anxiety or fear. But having Knight of Wands and having Hermit is like finding the fire within you and that part of you that's like, I'm just gonna go for it, you know, like that. And then pushing through, and I'm seeing that like when you actually do it, because this feels like the difference between like standing on the edge of the bank versus making the jump into the water. And that like being the thing here where when you're like, before you actually start getting the ball rolling, there can be like a lot of thoughts to the point where it becomes unproductive. But then when you're immersed in the process, I'm seeing you show up, I'm seeing you be very motivated, I'm seeing you getting things done, I'm seeing you even be aware of this too. So you could have felt in the beginning like, I'm feeling so much anxiety about this, or so worried about this, or so focused on this, but from like a very negative standpoint. Like you could have been feeling hopeless within it, could have been feeling pessimistic about it. This could have just brought up stuff where you were like, this isn't the kind of stuff I want to be dealing with right now. Like, I'll take on a different type of challenge. I don't want to have to do this kind. It's like that sort of thing. So it's like, it's me over here worried and I'm seeing the problem in front of me, but nothing has happened yet. It just feels like a recognition that like, oh, that's a problem and I'm gonna have to take care of that. Then in the middle, it's like finding the fire within you and what's motivating you. And this can also be like, how do I want to move forward with this? Like I'm also seeing you be like in a single-minded focus type of way, which can be good for this type of thing. So I'm seeing this Knight of Wands energy actually be beneficial, because Knight of Wands is like, I'm going to get there somehow and I'll try all the different ways that I need to until I actually do the thing that needs to be done. So it's that type of attitude where it's like, I'm just going to figure it out because this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to do here. This is the way I'm trying to go. And then having Eight of Wands and Queen of Wands is you actually getting to where you're trying to go. Things actually progress like much more smoothly and faster than you thought that they would. And then having Queen of Wands is you like feeling so accomplished with yourself of like, yeah, I really did that. Like I did that myself. It's going to be one of those moments here with this. So you go from like questioning if you can even pull through to being like, yeah, I did that. It's like, that's what I'm seeing here with this. This is something where this is taking an immense amount of energy. You really have to apply yourself, and it's tireless. Like, this is something that could have felt like it was going on and on and on and on. To have Saturn here, it can feel like things are moving in slow motion, but you still have to work as hard, like every moment of every day. It can be like that type of thing. Page of Wands and the Magician is a path that you're currently exploring, and what it is that you're doing on that path. Like, what it is that you want to materialize, what's your intention, like what are you doing here, that sort of thing. And also the state of mind that you're in as well. And then at the beginning of this, it's about, I feel like we're jumping all over, but the beginning of this, when it's like noticing that something's a problem and that it's gonna have to be addressed, it's about at first seeing something as like maybe the tallest mountain in the world that you're gonna have to climb, and then it feels like recognizing that maybe it is the tallest mountain that needs to be climbed, but also seeing other things within it too, like your ability to actually accomplish what needs to be accomplished here. And that if you just put the effort in, it is something that you're going to be able to do as well, and that this isn't like beyond your capacity in any way. But at first you could have felt like that, but I'm getting that actually the most difficult thing of this whole thing, it's not the work, which I'm seeing be difficult, it's not the actual like doing of the things and finding the motivation, which could have been difficult. It's actually the mental health component of this. That's what I'm seeing be the biggest challenge out of all of this. So it wasn't that you couldn't do it. It wasn't that you couldn't figure it out. It wasn't that you weren't going to get it done. It was this, like the way that you get stuck in your head and how it becomes unproductive, where it's like you just needed to do your thing here. Because I'm seeing you really, like, even though I'm seeing a process is not totally finished yet, I'm seeing you get enough done that you're like, you're basically on the other side of it, basically. Even though you're not completely, you're like 2 steps away from being finished with this, but it's enough where you're like, oh, I got this. Then at that point, like, it's going to be validation then. So that's what I'm seeing be happening for you for mid-June. All right, everybody, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.